We're back out here once again. And when those summer bites begin to get tough, there are two baits I just got to have in my arsenal to keep those bass biting. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. There we go, I got one. On the wacky tube. Come on, stay with me, buddy. Stay with me. That's not a bad one either. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And as we move deeper into the dog days of summer, bass fishing can become a real grind. Those high pressure systems set in and we get bluebird skies and not a trace of wind or wind driven current. Factor in fishing pressure on our local fisheries and it can make it the toughest time of the year to go out and catch bass. But if you've got the right tools for the job to match up with those conditions, you can still have some really productive days on the water. Now for me, that boils down to two baits. And the thing that I like about these particular baits is how versatile they are. And they often are overlooked for how versatile they can be. They're not just a one-trick pony. They do many things very well. Now, what am I talking about? Well, first and foremost, a fluke, right? A soft plastic jerkbait. You guys already know I am a huge fan of a soft plastic jerkbait. Whether it's a Zoom Super Fluke, whether it's a Strike King Caffeine Shad, or whether it's the cheapo creams in the bargain bin there at Walmart. These things have caught so many fish for me. And I can rig them weightless. Right? I've got it on a bait caster, and just because it's weightless doesn't mean you can't sling these things a good way. That's one of the best things I love about this. For a weightless presentation, they fish so well. You can fish them at a distance, which is great, especially in those clear waters during the summertime. This is just on a 5/0 EWG hook, and that adds all the weight that I need. And I've got this, like I said, on my bait cast setup. It works just fine. You can also throw it on your finesse system if that's what you have with you, if that's what you prefer to fish. If you need to, you can downsize these to the mini fluke, the fluke juniors. Those also work well, especially after something like the shad spawn or the shiner spawn, or you can change the colors up after the bluegill spawn. You can match what those bass are going for, which can be a great way to catch fish. But what a lot of guys don't understand is how versatile a fluke soft plastic jerkbait, how versatile those baits can actually be. You guys know that I really like throwing them weightless, but another thing I like using them on is a hover rig. This I can use under brush, this I can use out in deeper water, and you can see this is my old trick of rigging them sideways on the hover rig. That flat bottom right there, it gets it to where I get a lot more glide on that fall. It just kind of glides down, which makes it more enticing, but it can also still cast, and it skips exceptionally well under flooded brush. It's a great way to do it, and it's a great way to generate strikes. We're talking all the time, the mantra of the summertime, show those bass something different, right? But you don't want to show them something so different, it's going to be foreign to them. I'm not going to be filling a soup can full of rocks and jangling it under the water because we know that won't work. I know that's an extreme example, but we still, while showing them something different, we want to keep it natural looking, something that's going to be appealing to them. And that hover rig, rigged sideways, is something that does that. And again, I can change up the colors. I like to go with a green pumpkin or a watermelon red flake, a soft jerkbait from time to time, especially after the bluegill spawn, and I find that I get tremendous bites, even on those tough days whenever the water's hot, there's a lot of pressure, and those bass just don't want to bite. Now, you guys know that I love using a soft plastic jerkbait, especially these guys, because they have that harder body. They make an exceptional trailer for a bladed jig. I have been beating that dead horse into the ground for years now. And a lot of you guys have started to catch on to that. And you've been telling me that when you use these as a trailer for a bladed jig or a chatterbait, that it really does make a difference. You get a lot more movement in that bladed jig and it attracts those fish. It allows you to fish it slower in the summertime, which can be a benefit. You can keep it lower in the water column, and those suspending bass, which are preying on those bait balls of those newly hatched shad or bluegill, it goes right through them. It goes right at the same level, and it comes right through those clouds, and those bass go crazy for that type of presentation. Now, another bait that I like to use is going to be a shocker. It's going to be a bit of a surprise because I don't talk about it a whole lot on this channel, and that is a tube. I know I'm living in the deep south and I'm fishing a tube. This is something that is basically my little secret. I keep this in my back pocket because I don't talk about it a lot. A tube in the deep south is not a common thing. Up north, smallmouth guys love a tube. Put it on a tube jig, cast it out there, and those fish, those smallies, just tear these up. You know, and you just got a regular, this is a 1/4 ounce tube jig. You tie it on, you can use this on spinning gear, or you can use it on a bait caster, and it has that spiraling motion as it goes down, and it's got these tendrils that come off of it, and it's very appealing for those bass. That in itself is a great way to fish because it's natural looking and you're showing them something different. But there's another way that I really like to fish a tube, and that is, well, the old chatter tube, right? This is a chatterbait that I have taken the skirt off, and I have threaded a white yum tube on here. This, I really love coming through that thick hydrilla because it comes through very, very well. Something like this I will use over a spinnerbait because a spinnerbait doesn't do as well for me in the gunk, but this is different. It's got a different action. It's got a different look in the water. It's something those bass are not seeing, and it gets really big strikes. I can use this with a white tube like you see here. I can mix it up with a brown tube or a green pumpkin tube, depending on the forage that I'm trying to imitate and the conditions that I'm trying to do. This will actually get crushed. I've caught so many fish using the chatter tube. This is one of the things that a lot of guys know about, but hardly anybody is fishing. And again, I'm just fishing this on a bait cast. I've got a 7-foot medium heavy rod. This is 12-pound fluorocarbon. This was my open water setup. This is what I was using today along those weed lines under a submerged creek channel. And it worked. It got a couple nice fish on that. If I'm fishing through, say, hydrilla, then I'll fish it on a braided line setup. And it comes through so well. That braided line just saws right through that. But lastly, there is a trick that I like to do with the tube. And it's something that I learned a couple of years ago. A buddy of mine showed me this, and I just thought it was wild. And I'm going to show it to you guys right now. And that is, we're going to take this tube out of this package, right? We're going to take one of these tubes, just a regular tube, and we're going to take a 1/8 ounce bullet weight, just a regular lead bullet weight. If you go with tungsten, it's going to be too small. And you see here, I have got this is a regular size 2 O'Shaughnessy hook. This is the ones that I like to use the best. Go ahead and give myself a little bit of line here because I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do with this thing. Is I'm going to take this tube, I'm going to take this weight, we're going to open it up, and we're just going to push that weight into that tube all the way up in there as far as we can go. Now, if we go with a tungsten tube, we go with a tungsten weight or a different size weight, it's not going to work as well. But we got that put in there all the way, and we're going to take that O'Shaughnessy hook right here, and I'm going to wacky rig that tube. That's right, behind that weight. Feel where that weight is, and then just come through with a wacky rig. But we are going to see if we can. There we go, I got one on the wacky tube. Come on, stay with me, buddy. Stay with me. not a bad one either. That is not a bad fish, and he swallowed it. Look at that. He went after it. He choked that dude all the way. And this thing glides forever under the water. It skips amazingly well. It's not really like a tube jig because this has got more of a gliding action than it does a spinning action down. It's a different presentation. It's enough of a look. It's enough of a change that those bass have something new that they can key off of. And this has really caught me some toes. Like I said, a buddy of mine keyed me off on these a couple years ago, and I've been using them. Like, this is another one that I kind of keep in my back pocket. It's something that I've been keeping to myself. But when that fishing gets really tough and you're having a hard time getting those fish to bite anything or to commit to anything, this can be the deal right here. So those two baits, a tube and a fluke, they're super versatile. I can do so many different things with them that I really don't need anything else. Sure, I could add a Senko to that, but again, so many guys are fishing Senkos that I'm trying to get away from that right now in order to show those bass something different. So there you have it. Two baits that I keep with me at all times, whether I'm fishing in the boat or whether I'm fishing from the bank. In the summertime, they are invaluable. It saves space. I don't have to have a whole bunch of different setups, and I can use them in so many different ways. It allows me to have multiple presentations to keep those bass guessing. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.